What's up, Eager to Pleasers? Welcome back to another episode of the Eager to Please podcast. I couldn't be more excited to introduce our guest for this month. She and I have quite a history together. In fact, we've known each other for over 40 years, and it could be argued that I was her shadow when I was running around in diapers. God knows the secrets she could dish on me. Call it ironic or not, but somehow she and I managed to tumble down the same road around the same time, which we'll get into in just a minute. But aside from being the queen of the "I'm fine, it's fine" phrase, I thought she would be the perfect person to join us for this episode. I have the extreme honor of introducing this kind, compassionate, wonderful woman who has been a true friend and confidant in every way. My sister, Michelle Costa. Thanks so much for joining me today, Mitch. I'm so happy to have you on the podcast.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm actually feeling very privileged.
Well, thank you. Okay. You and I both know you should be earning copyright royalties on the phrase, "I'm fine, it's fine, everything's fine." You are the walking definition for the ad. So I got to know, and be honest, what was going through your mind when I asked you to be a guest on the podcast, and specifically for this episode?
Well, for me, this episode is so me. At an early age, there was a certain expectation to uphold. When I was growing up, I felt I couldn't show any emotions, which led me to suppress any feelings I had, good or bad. So for me, I really didn't learn how to feel or express myself because I was raised in an environment that you didn't ask for anything and hold to an expectation to figure things out on my own. So you learn a behavior to pretend you're okay when you're really not.
Yeah.
In my young adulthood, you were taught that not being okay wasn't an option or even discussed. So as to part two of the question, why do people say that? Well, there's a number of reasons for that. Number one, I feel judgment around not being okay. Again, growing up, I couldn't communicate that I wasn't okay because then I might be considered crazy or even labeled as difficult. And then secondly, there is a trust issue. You put up this facade and really don't know who you can trust and or be honest about your feelings. Thirdly, for me, you avoid conflicts at any cost.
Yeah.
That's a hard one for me. You brainwash yourself to try and please everyone so you don't allow yourself to feel vulnerable to your emotions. It's like a game you play inside your head. You have a fear of a loss or abandonment. So now at an early age, you've trained yourself to be emotionally disconnected from others because you avoid those emotions and think you fix all of those issues yourself, or you're not living up to everyone's expectations, or you feel like you're going to be judged.
Yeah. It's almost like you feel numb.
Yes, it's just, I think growing up in the era that I grew up in was definitely a little hindering on people being able to allow their emotions to show. That expectation of everybody's well-being wasn't around then like it is today, which I think is so important for people to understand that it is okay to not be okay.
Oh, for sure. For sure. And you and I were even talking about a little bit before we jumped on, it's becoming just more widely accepted. And I don't know if it was from COVID, if that's what prompted the whole conversation around mental health and not being okay. But I go back to this song that Matthew West wrote about Truth Be Told. And I think I even used that song in one of my opening episodes. Like, you know, I'm fine. Yeah, I'm fine. Hey, I'm fine, but I'm not. I'm broken. And I just feel like that song just totally describes the whole feeling so perfectly.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
We joke in our family, but I guess it's not so funny, that you have always been the one to put on the happy face and to tell everyone what they wanted to hear, that everything was good. And so, you know, we started talking about that, but let's continue down that path since you've lived this out your entire life, I'm curious what your thoughts are on why people say they're fine when they're really not. Aside from not feeling good enough in comparison to others, from someone who actually lived out this lifestyle and still, is working through not living out that kind of lifestyle. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, for me, I guess it took a very long time because I am still in the process. It's a work in progress for me today. It's been a life-altering moment. At the age of 49, I was diagnosed with breast cancer, as you know. And through that experience, I had to make some tough choices in my life. One, I used the motto, change nothing, nothing changes, because I live by that today. It's really hard to do on a daily basis, and I struggle with that.
Love it.
But I found if I didn't acknowledge my bad behaviors and forgive myself, I couldn't change what I needed to do. Acknowledging that I wasn't fine and that I was struggling was the first step of truly being authentic to myself.
Yeah.
For once in my life, allowing myself to be vulnerable, to say that it's okay not to be okay. And that's when I started a new chapter of my life. That journey of we all have trials and tribulations in life, and cancer was the one thing that actually opened my eyes. It's sad that it takes something horrific like that to give me my wake-up call, but I still have a life to live. So for the 49 years from young adulthood, I've always used myself smiling to avoid confronting anything that I needed to deal with because it was easier. Let's face it, it's easier to just run away from things and not deal with things that you think that you should do. But you want to appear on the outside that everything's just wonderful and you're fine. And I'm here to tell you that it's not a good thing to do to yourself. I'm definitely empowering myself to be better every day. And it just makes me want to be a better person and share my stories so that people don't make the same mistakes that I've made.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, so piggybacking off of that thought, what were some of the things that you did to get you into a place of peace? I mean, you definitely had a boulder fall on your shoulders, and this kind of came out of left field. And no one expects to get cancer, obviously, but what was the moment for you where you're just like, I just don't want to be under it anymore?
Well, I think for me, my life was a disaster. If I really looked at it closely, I wasn't happy, and I knew that I was being given a second chance at life. So here I have an opportunity to change things for myself and to be happy. That's the biggest part, is to make myself happy again.
Yeah.
So I think, first of all, it's definitely a work in progress. Like, we all have stories and life experiences we go through. There's no manual on how to be or how to do things in life, right? So we do the best we can and hope that at that moment you made good choices. I'm sure we can all relate to, if I could go back in time, I wish I could have, would have done things differently, right?
Yeah.
I had to get brutally honest with myself and, again, forgive myself and move forward. Having been diagnosed with the cancer rocked my world as I knew it and made me even more aware that I needed to make some major changes in my life. And I was the only one that could do that. Nobody could do it for me. I had to acknowledge the behaviors that I had, and if I wanted a better life, I needed to change it. I got so consumed in life. We have children, we have a job, we have all the trials and tribulations of life. I was very blessed at a second chance. I was committed to making the changes that were necessary for me. So, of course, after 31 years of marriage, I decided I needed to end that toxic relationship, and I got the courage to move away, states away, actually, with the support of my family. And it was a very difficult journey, but also a very rewarding one. Again, I learned that it was okay to not be okay. The struggle was real, knowing that you aren't alone in this world. There were so many people out there like myself. You have to believe in yourself and that you're capable of choosing your happiness and move forward. The choice is yours. That's all there is to it. It's a scary place to let yourself be vulnerable and a huge commitment to yourself. It's up to you and only you can change it. And that's basically what it is. I think the acknowledgement that you know that you're not okay, that you know you haven't been over a very long time, and to accept that and forgive yourself. You know, there's been a lot of I'm sorries, I apologize, the family history. I pushed people away. I ran away. I mean, it's a horrible thing to do to your family and have your family supporting you, knowing what was best for me, but I didn't know what was best for me at the time. I just kept thinking I could fix it. I could fix everything with my smile and pretend that everything was going to be okay and everything was fine.
Yeah. When I was doing some research for this theme myself and some other episodes, I came across this term called smiling depression. And right away, it just reminded me of the facade that not just you, but people who put that on to the world and show the world like, yes, everything's fine and everything's great. And inside, you're just like, oh my God, another day like this. Like, how am I going to get through today? And then you do. And then, it's the smiling depression comes back again tomorrow. So the things that I think I pulled out of what you just said, at least that resonate with me, Mitch, are number one, acknowledging that you're not okay and accepting that it's okay to not be okay. And then knowing that you're the only one that can change it. As much as you have the support from your family and your friends and the people that love you, if you're not willing to dig deep. And because obviously looking at yourself and our own shortcomings, it's never easy to do that. But whenever you look at yourself in the mirror and you're like, okay, I need to change this about myself, or I don't think this is serving me well. And then working on those things, I think that's really, the work that you see the benefits from later on down the line. Obviously it's not an overnight success, but now here you are. I feel like you are just such a different person now than you were a couple years ago. And, I don't know if our listeners that are going to be listening to this episode, if they're even religious, but I feel like going back to church, and I know you do that on a regular basis now, and even look up positive phrases that, you and I sometimes send each other back and forth just to know like someone's thinking about you, or consider this positive thought for the day instead of, wallowing in the, oh gosh, here we are again.
Oh my gosh. That's so true, because 3 years ago, I was a different person. I actually didn't even know who I had become or who I was. I became a person that I didn't recognize myself. Once I stopped and I started to make changes in my life, it opened my eyes to a lot of bigger and brighter things. There's days where I couldn't even get out of bed because of exhaustion, because, you mentioned that meaning of the smiling effect. It's so funny that you say that, because I did go to therapy before I actually left my marriage. And my therapist recognized that I smile to mask my inner struggles so that I appear to be happy and successful to everybody else but myself. So Who's that hurting? Me. So it is a real thing and can cause and create some very crazy health risks, as to me getting cancer as well. Again, you have to admit to yourself, understand, dismiss that there's any thoughts of embarrassment or blame. You have to want to seek professional and or help from your trusted family and friends, because that should be your support system if that is where you go for support. And then you have to allow yourself to ask for help. Asking for help is probably the biggest accomplishment and step in moving forward and becoming the best version of yourself.
Yeah.
And I can take that back to your mom, who I call my mom, because guess who I leaned on? Your mom, my mom. Then it came to you and Maria. Maria has always been with me through every single tribulation in my life, and I've been able to lean on her. But she's my sister. You're my sister. I've been able to lean on you. However, your mom, she plays a different role in my life. She's actually gotten me to where I am today. And I couldn't do it without her. So I'm yes, I'm very fortunate to have her in my life. You know, we've been through our ups and downs and our struggles, but I'll tell you what, there's nothing like family to hold things together, and she's the glue for me, at least, because, you know, I didn't grow up with a mother. She was the closest thing to a mother I did have. So, of course, when I was younger, I was rebellious and I was rude and I was a typical teenager for her. She wanted to kill me. You know, I would want to kill me too for some of the things I did, but she just took me in and embraced me and just made me feel that everything was going to be okay. And it has.
Yeah.
Thank goodness. So, you know, it's hard not having a mother to grow up with either, because you just don't know. Moms are a huge role in somebody's life. I think they're the ones who are more emotional than your father. And, you know, our dad was not a communicator. So there were never any emotions. And that comes from his family. You know, you had to be perfect. And you don't show or tell anybody that you have emotions. You're not allowed to do that. My entire life was based on, you don't show emotions. I'll just smile and get by and I'm fine. So that's what I did for all those years. And now I'm 56 and I'm learning how to live my life for me. What I've done, I'm very thankful and blessed to have that second chance to regroup.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. You touched on this word that I feel like people are allergic to almost, or maybe more so years ago than they are now, because it's becoming, we're like, oh yeah, I've got therapy today, or, you know, my therapist said XYZ. I know I personally was not a big fan of therapy at one point, but did you ever have that, you know, perspective of therapy where you're just like, okay, if people know that I'm going to therapy, I'm going to be looked at as different or troubled, or I've got a problem? And how did you finally come to terms with, you know what, it's okay that I'm going to talk to someone because I can't carry this by myself?
Well, listen, you know that I didn't grow up with my mom.
Yeah.
Until your mom came into my life at age 13. And I was made to go to a therapist when I was young. Mm-hmm. And it was an awful experience. I remember being made to go there, and all we did was play games because I didn't know what that was or what I was even supposed to do. Mm-hmm. You know, I was too young to even know what I was even doing there. You know, again, referring back to the childhood, we weren't allowed to have emotions and feelings. So, you know, you might be labeled or shamed because you're going to a counselor. You're going to a crazy person. You're crazy. Yeah. Now with today, with the mental struggles many face, you can actually share your own stories. You can help others by being courageous enough to share their own struggles. And there's no shame about it. So for me, I think that therapy can be good for people, but it's got to be the right one. So many people go to a therapist and they don't go to the right one. They don't connect. They don't gel together. I would suggest, if that's how you're feeling, that you need a different therapist. My therapists that have worked really well for me is my family. Yeah. I disconnected with my family because of, I'm fine. everything's fine. I want them to think that I accomplished things, that I was good at my roles at work with my kids. And we all know that that came crashing down in both areas. So, I relied on my family who I trust. And I think trust has a lot to do with it, because no matter what, your family is there for you and they don't judge you. They may suggest things and they may lead you a different direction, and they're not going to sugarcoat things for you, which is what I love about family, that it's okay to not be okay. It's a real thing today. I think everybody handles things differently. It's a daily struggle for me, but today is a new day. And I wake up feeling blessed and continue my journey to heal and help others along the way. And I share my stories with some people who I choose to share it with, because I believe that the more stories that are out there, the more people you can help and connect with. And people open up to that because you're being very genuine. Everybody's story is different, like I said, but I do believe that there are really good people out there you can talk to. So whether it's a therapist or whether it's your friends or it's your family, I just feel that as long as you can be honest and authentic with yourself and true to yourself, you can work through these things as long as you have a good support system.
That's kind of how I got into music. It was my outlet, my therapy. And to your point, I feel like you don't necessarily have to go to, a licensed therapist and sit on a chair and do the whole
share your life story.
Yeah, the whole textbook. You go in, you put your hands in your lap, and they ask you like, "Well, how do you feel about that?" I'm like, "Yeah, been there, done that." But I feel like there are definitely more other outlets than just going to a therapist. So I'm with you on the family avenue as well. So.
Yes, I agree. I totally am all about being honest anymore. I mean, you have to be true to yourself. And if you're not going to be open and honest, there's nothing that you can't tell your family that they're going to disown you or disregard you or throw you to the curb. They're not. They're your family. They love you unconditionally. I learned that the hard way, obviously, because of the way I was brought up. But I couldn't be more happy now with the choices I'm making, and with my family is first and foremost. And
I'm so glad to see that after all these years. I mean, part of it was distance that separated us, but another part of what separated us was just the like, I'm fine phrase. And so I feel like you just have an awareness of yourself now. And I think that's brought you, Maria, and me and Mom, and it's just brought us closer together.
Right.
Because we do talk more, not just the two of us, but
all of us.
Yeah, all of us. I feel like we do talk more. And I think as unfortunate things have happened in our life, we always come back to, well, what's really important.
That's so true. And it's not that I did it deliberately.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
You don't realize until something triggers your head, in your mind, in your soul. You really don't realize what you're doing until you get out of that you were doing.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense. Because when you're in it, and I know I've told you this before, you feel like you're a hamster on a wheel and you can't get off. It's like you get one foot off and then you go back to the wheel because you're used to it. That's just how it works.
Right.
And then when your world comes crashing down, or something, an event or something happens, and you slow down, that's when you go, that's your aha moment to say, I need some changes in my life. And that's what you do. is you
Yeah.
make changes.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. And, I've touched on this in other episodes as well. It does take a significant event. And in my experience and in your experience, it has been a negative event to really stop you in your tracks, to be like, okay, this is not the way I want to be living out the rest of my life. You're too young to be doing this, to be living on the hamster wheel. It's exhausting. So exhausting. So
It is exhausting. You know me, I like my sleep.
I do. I know it. But when you finally do get off the hamster wheel, I don't know, you definitely see the world in a different light, and things don't always seem so glass half empty anymore. And, no one wants to live in that space where everything is just like heavy and negative. So
No, they don't.
I'm just super happy that we have you back.
You're the best. I'm happy to be back. I'm getting back to my old Michelle.
Yes,
it's nice to be
definitely.
back. It's a great feeling.
I love it. I love it. So before I let you escape, I wanted to see if you had any words of encouragement for people who are stuck in the "I'm fine, it's fine" mentality. It could be anything. Do you have any last minute words of encouragement?
Well, I would definitely encourage you to listen to your gut and your head. I believe for a very long time, I knew what I should have done a very long time ago. And that gut feeling, that headspace with the gut feeling, they always say go with your gut.
Mm-hmm.
I truly believe that if you go with your gut, it's always right. It's definitely something to put thoughts to, because that gut feeling that just keeps kind of creeping back into your life and saying, something's not right, or this doesn't feel right, or, oh my gosh, I'm overwhelmed. I would say listen to it. That would be my advice, is to listen to your gut. It's your intuition of telling you that something's not right.
Yeah.
And you need to fix it.
Love it. Well, thank you, Michelle, so much for joining us on this episode.
Thanks for having me.
Love you.
I love you so much.